Hello, welcome to 100 Years Today, World War I edition, the only show that breaks down history week by week. I'm one of your hosts, Priscilla Roman. It seems like my other partner is still in the back polishing up. I'd like to thank you for joining us in this short edition on the show called 30 Seconds of Dead Old History Guys. An edition where we bring back history today. This is Pope Benedict XV. Welcome, Pope.
Glad to be here, and God bless you for inviting me.
It's so good to have you here. Anyways, I wanted to know what World War I was like in your perspective.
Yes.
I know you have been traveling around Europe. Tell us about it.
Yes, well, Priscilla, we are all children of God, and despite all our differences, God would not want us to fight against each other. I prayed and prayed every day for the end of the war. War is horrific. People turning on one another, human blood spilled, death dominating God's creation. It was awful, and I pray that nothing like that ever happens again.
That's very interesting, Pope Benedict. I have to say, I agree with you. Anyways, that's all the time we have for today on 30 Seconds of Dead Old History Guys. Thank you, Pope Benedict. Major events that happened last week include the agreement that was signed in London for wounded soldiers and sick prisoners of war. From Germany and Great Britain to being transferred to Switzerland for medical attention. Along with that, Austria.
I'm right here. Right, sorry guys, I had a little trouble parting the time machine. So, what did I miss?
I was just gonna go over the recap of last week, and I was going to talk about Austria and Italy.
Ooh, may I take the wheel on this?
Of course. Go straight ahead.
All right. Well, before I begin, I'm Natalia Hernandez, and welcome to 100 Years Today, World War I edition. So, as my co-host, Priscilla, was about to talk about, was the ongoing issues Austria and Italy were having with each other. Austria was focusing all their attention on destroying Italy. Austrian troops were sent to attack Italy through the mountain passes of Trentino.
The Italians withdrew cunningly, manipulating the Austrians to believe that they were winning and forcing them to cross over the harsh mountain terrain. Austria only managed to gain a few kilometers in the mountains of Italy, but at the cost of several men dying due to the harsh climate.
But even after that, Austria was still able to capture around 30,000 Italian prisoners. In all honesty, it's really quite terrible. But anyways, as for the Turks, their territories were being divided and claimed in an agreement between Great Britain and France. Of course, once they were able to defeat the Ottomans. A little cocky if you ask me. But now on to this week. It seems that at this time, Germany hasn't been doing so hotly. Wouldn't you say, Priscilla?
Oh, totally. And crushing it at the beginning of the war. But from what I can tell, they didn't seem to be holding up too well. The Battle of Verdun continued. What seemed to be an endless battle of tag you're it between the Germans and the French. Germany would acquire and gain land and lose it a couple days later. As you may know, a few weeks back we talked about the German attack on the French in Verdun on the west bank of Meuse. But this week, on May 21st, 4 months after the Battle of Verdun started, after 300,000 German deaths, the Germans took a win with 1,300 people and 30 officers on the east bank and on the south and southwest slopes of Dead Man's Hill. This week, the fighting was more and more desperate on the north and west slopes of Verdun. In addition to the war material, Germany had gained 16 machine guns and 8 cannons were captured.
The Germans, hoping to bleed France white, as stated by German Field Marshal Erich von Falkenhayn when explaining the intention behind continuously attacking the French at Verdun, continued to desperately try and wipe out the French and gain as much land as they could. But Germans, shooting out 15 million shells from cannons and only getting a few as 1,300 soldiers, was not much of a loss for the French side. Not only did the French really win this week by gaining 2 trenches, 80 prisoners, and 4 machine guns, but they couldn't have defeated more Germans without Belgium and Britain.
The Germans got really upset because they had lost 2 trenches that were definitely very beneficial for the French. They decided to drop bombs on the airplanes in the regions of Dunkirk. Then, the French called up its allies to help drop a total of 250 bombs on German cantonments by Liege and Crystales. Germans got hold of east of Meuse, but quickly confronted defeat due to 5 aeroplanes being shot down, most of which landed in the west of Meuse and a hill east of Verdun.
Let's also not forget the tension between Germany and Great Britain. Thanks to Britain's illegal blockade, German soldiers spent their days weak and starving in their trenches. It got so bad that Germany had to set up a system of feeding people in masses so as not to waste so much food and to try to conserve as much food as possible for the citizens of Germany as well the soldiers. Citizens would get ready-cooked meals each day. That way, they would have no leftovers and would not risk wasting any food. Vorwärts, a social democratic paper from Germany, stated, possibly, such a system would meet with opposition from the rich, but there is no help for that, and it would be a good thing if many of the big mouths and fat cheeks, now so much in favor of war, could feel in their own stomachs what war really is.
Along with that, Ireland's aid from Germany didn't help the Germans a lot with the British. Ireland had a lot of beef with Britain and took the opportunity of Britain's distraction with the war to rebel. The Irish Republican Brotherhood even stated, England's difficulty is Ireland's opportunity. Because they knew Britain would have to deal with the Irish rebels, Germany sent weapons to the Irish, knowing that it would aid them in the rebellion. At the time, Germany was still low on resources, such as food and medicine, because Britain's illegal blockade and their aiding the Irish just created more tension between Germany and Great Britain. The success of the Easter Rising, Ireland's rebellion in Dublin, didn't do much for Germany in the long run.
Germany wasn't the only one that was having a bit of misfortune at the time. Britain, still trying to recover from the Easter Rising, was now drafting men for the war since there weren't enough men volunteering and it didn't seem like the war would end anytime soon. Britain was worried that if they didn't get men soon, they would lose powerful and effective land such as the North Lancashires and the Lancashire Fusiliers, which gave them a great advantage at keeping an eye on the German troops.
But apart from all the atrocities of the war, I think it's nice to acknowledge the small symbols of hope and humanity. For example, an actor by the name of Brandon Tynan put up shows along with his company in order to raise money for all the widows and orphans that were left from the Easter Rising.
Aw, how sweet. I have to say I agree with you. I think it's nice to focus on the beauty in people in times of great destruction.
That's all we have for this week. Thanks for joining us on 100 Years Ago, World War I edition.
Tune in next week when we talk about Europe's food supply as the war progresses and Britain's debate on their conduct during the war.
Also next week, we'll talk about German prisoners complaining about the abuse in several camps in France and the connection to Russian swamps.
Do it again. Check out this cool ad from 1916.